Welcome to, That Went Well, coming up on tonight's show, Ebony and Ivory.
There you go. We're also going to have some of this. I think your fans won't like this.
And a tiny bit of this.
That group of people aren't able to speak on behalf of the country.
And we laughed quite a lot at this.
But we didn't laugh at this.
Whoa! Welcome to the brand new episode of Well, That Went Well with me, Tom Walker, and this is Geoff Norcott.
Yes.
Did I say your name right then?
Geoff, not really. The
Norcott.
last bit.
It's sort of, yeah.
Norcott. Speaking of names, first up, thanks for everybody that listened and watched last week.
You were really nice.
Yeah.
Generally, the comments were good. Well, I'll take you through some comments in a bit.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't all positive river flow, but there was a lot of people clearly with nothing to do on a Friday night.
Absolutely not.
Exactly why this show goes out at 10 p.m.
Yeah.
One thing I was pleased to see is the takeoff of Tomathan Piewalker.
Yeah, I was absolutely delighted with that. Thanks for that, Geoff.
So what's been happening this week? Have people been using that? I shouldn't be smiling while I'm saying
you
this.
You are smiling because just before we recorded, I told you that they were bothering me with that. And look at that grin.
Look, from a writing point of view, what you really want is for something to catch the imagination. We all want to be a GIF or a meme.
There's been a lot of Tomathan. The Piewalker's all right, but the Tomathan is starting to grate.
What is it about?
Please stop using that, and I know that will definitely work.
What is it psychologically that bothers you about it?
I feel like I said last week, I quite like the separation of Tom and Jonathan, and now I've exposed myself as Tom, and everyone's, I don't know, it just feels like a dig, them using Tomathan.
Yeah, to stop calling him Tomathan.
Piewalker. Oh. Before we get to the half-assed monologue...
by the way, mate...
Oh, fuck off, you bastards.
It wasn't my idea, it was producer Will, but I didn't hate it.
Well done, Will. Thank you very much. You're fired. All right, well, let's get on to the comments, because a lot of people were agreeing with me.
Okay, so the reason, if you watch the first episode, is there wasn't a comma last week, and Tom was, enraged.
I would go that far.
Yeah, you did go a bit pie, I'll be honest.
Well, I mean, that is my raison d'etre. A lot of people were in agreement with me. Let's read out some comments. I nearly did not watch due to the lack of that comma, but I'm glad I did.
It's a bit. I mean, nearly did not watch.
The logo reminded me of Gillette. We've got a lot of this. There was you should make the logo in the shape of a comma in honour of the comma you left out. The logo font looks like a Gillette advert. Never mind the lack of comma. So he's more annoyed about the Gillette rip-off.
So if this is Gillette, does it mean that we'll be really sexist for years and then go woke for about a week before a backlash and then return to sexism?
I just think there's a subliminal message there that we are the best a man can get.
And it's pretty blokey. Another thing I should say as well is that I used the word lefty and I used the word woke last week. And if people haven't seen us work together before, that's sort of okay between us. You know, you could call me a gammony twat, and
Well, because that's what you are. No, that is sort of the point that we might disagree on a few things every day.
Yeah, we're meeting in the, like in the First World War, there was that football match in no man's land. Mm-hmm. Me and you, we're kicking a ball about before we return to open hostility.
The thing is, if there's one thing I hate more than war, it's football. So I would probably have been down in the trenches going, fuck this.
You would have been meeting with a really sensitive German lad and swapping poems. So I thought you were about to say swapping DNA. It's but again, did that happen? That might have happened. That must have happened. In the no man's land football match, a couple of lads who'd been, they had plenty of opportunities in the trenches, but everyone's distracted.
Trench foot. I don't know why that came to mind, but
there must have been
shagging someone with trench foot.
Yes,
it feels like a charitable act.
Yeah, it would be a situation where STDs were the least of your concerns.
Oh Jesus Christ! Yeah,
have you been tested?
Them.
I've got fucking trench foot.
Also, it might get you out of the front line, get you out of the trenches.
It might.
I've got the clap. Colonel.
That's the Blackadder they never wrote, isn't it? We've got him pretty hard here.
Right, let's have some more comments. All right, that's all right. Well, that did go well. I'm a big fan of both you guys, having listened to Geoff's podcast forever and enjoying Jonathan Pye's YouTube rants. Great that two politically opposite comedians can come together in peace and harmony. Ebony and Ivory.
There you go.
Says. Ebony and Ivory. I don't know who's.
It's Ivory and more Ivory. I
think
say.
so. I'm not putting blackface on.
Ebony and Gamony.
This is good from Panic Beach. Finally, something aimed to us over 45 blokes.
Finally. Yeah, finally. It's been a while.
As the Jonathan Pye channel has 1 million subscribers, you should put that show on there. That's what his suggestion, and then we'd make more money. Well, I'd make more money and you wouldn't.
I mean, we could be completely full disclosure. We just thought it would appear on all our feeds.
We thought this was going to absolutely rinse my followers, and instead it's not on the platform. So,
but you know what's great is I think we got to build it up from the bottom. I think there's something healthy about that.
And it's really nice watching our subscribers sort of go up, and by 2 or 3 a week.
2 or 3 a week. Do like it, subscribe. So it's really important you subscribe.
It really is important.
And just tell people like it, because there used to be a lot of topical on telly, comedy on telly, and now there's not. So watch this.
Jeff. This is not telly.
Yeah.
This is nowhere near fucking telly.
You reckon?
It's a fucking shit.
It'd have aircon if it was telly.
Now, David Bedard, he wrote a small essay, and I'm just going to give you the... I'll be back for the next episode. Starts well.
Good.
I'd say, strangely enough, the episode was at its strongest when you were bouncing off each other on tangents. I mean, that was most of the show, so that's good. Since this is entirely your own venture, you're beholden to no one but yourselves. There's no Auntie Beeb, no media oligarch, no Ofcom. Having the platform you have is a privilege. Embrace it, use it. Don't squander it. Don't get to the end and think, did we actually say anything during all the talking? And that bit at the end, it sounds like it's quite heavy, and it's like it was evocative of like a deathbed regret. And I've got to be honest, if on my deathbed, my biggest regret is that podcast I did 40 years ago with that bloke who I haven't spoken to for 38 years. I can't remember his name. That podcast was a bit shit. If that's my biggest regret, I think that is a life well lived.
There's worse stuff, I never found love, never reconciled with my father.
Yeah.
Or there was that one bloke in the YouTube comments who started off sounding like my dad and ended up
being your dad.
It was my dad, and ended up, I was quite inspirational towards the end. But then I also thought, it's very easy to say, mate, just say anything, ruin your careers.
Get yourself cancelled.
Yeah, easy for you to say. But listen, it's really important, the comments, because every week, we got a few last week that we're going to do in a midweek show where we do quite like specific answers to a lot of the questions.
So pose us your questions and your comments. And just one more, if I may.
Sure.
This is from Joel321. I hate the fact both of you are so funny and handsome. Bit gay.
Meet you in the trenches.
Should we do this week's half-arsed monologue?
It's time for the half-arsed monologue.
Fantastic.
Okay, so just to be clear about the half-assed monologue, it's exactly what it says. I have written these with if you was writing for a topical show on telly, you'd edit, you go through a lot of stuff. These are very much the 20 minutes leading up to the show, I wrote these, okay? Yeah. So if people are saying some of them are shit, yes.
That is sort of the point. I will give him that. Yeah. I will give him that.
Yeah, that's sort of the point. But also if you think they're brilliant, then, that's fine too. So there's 6 jokes, and Tom's job is really he's my only audience here, is to rip them apart, praise them, or take some of the themes in the jokes and extemporise. Yeah, I know that word. Okay, here we go. The half-assed monologue. Keir Starmer completed his last piece of international business attending this week's NATO summit. There he was gifted a handgun by Turkey's President Erdogan, who whispered, "Go to the shed," right between the eyes. It's for the best. Come on, it's funny.
What I would say is you're basically taking the piss out of someone, encouraging someone to unalive themselves. And I use that phrase, unalive themselves, advisedly, for the algorithm. That is exactly my point, right? The only time I've ever been banned from Facebook, I was off it for a month, was for making a joke about someone unaliving themselves. My point is, Geoff, you're fucking up our algorithms.
Right.
No more fucking jokes about our our dear leader unaliving himself. It's not on.
I mean, and also demonetising for not even a laugh in the room, I would say as well.
It's not worth it, Geoff. I mean, leave it, Geoff.
What I'm trying to say is that the guy gave him a gun, and the optics of that in politics, aren't there? There's an old thing about, here's a glass of whiskey and a gun, do the decent thing. That seemed to be the metaphor. It is definitely a metaphor.
But it also could have been, I hear you're having a bit of trouble with your Manchester mayor. Lock and load.
How is that political assassination less demonetisable than my metaphor?
Go fucking postal on Downing Street, taking out.
It would be just with his voice. It would be very. Say hello to my little friend.
Yeah, you.
And who would the little friend be? Harriet Harman. Having secured enough nominations, Andy Burnham is set for his visit to the palace very soon, where he'll shake the king's hand, or just one finger if Charles is carrying a lot of water.
Yeah, that's quite good.
I mean, it's one of those jokes, though, that seems like anti-establishment, but it's also... It's like saying...
Yeah.
It's quite easy to punch up on the royal family, isn't it?
Well, it is. And also, I think there are these sort of evergreen subjects, and King Charles's sausage fingers, big fat sausage fingers, is a sort of... It's a perennial. And he'd like me describing it as you describe plants.
Yeah.
It's they're hardy perennials.
Yeah. And if he's retaining moisture that day, you're just going to...
That's also a really nice detail, if I may say so. You could have just gone his sausagey fat fingers, but you've gone his retained moisture. Moisture is
I should have said retained moisture. That's a funnier phrase. But this is the point.
What was the
I said if he's carrying a lot of water, if he's retaining water...
Retaining would have been
this
better.
Point, it's a half-hour monologue. These aren't finished.
This is better than last week.
Well, I saw the feedback for last week. So, Starmer is also preparing to give his last PMQs, where Kemi Badenoch will bid him a fond farewell. Of course she won't. She seems like the kind of person that watches Jurassic Park just to cheer on the velociraptors. I thought the lefties would like that. Sorry, I'm not allowed to say. Some people on the left.
Well, but only because the target of the joke is Kemi Badenoch.
Yeah.
She's a bit of a, still know what that is.
Yeah.
Can I be honest? I thought that was a poor showing.
Okay, fine. Prince Harry lost his lawsuit against the Mail. The sad thing is he can't even be consoled by his dad because he doesn't know who he is. So you like that, but you stopped yourself liking it because it was another royal joke.
The problem with... Well, it's two royal jokes in a row, but I suppose that's thematically.
It's half
what you're essentially doing with that joke is you are calling Queen of Hearts Princess Diana a whore.
No.
Slag?
No, in a bad marriage and needing understanding, actually.
And dick.
And... On Wednesday, England won a thrilling match against Mexico in the Aztecas' extreme altitude. It was the highest English footballers have been since Rio Ferdinand. Definitely didn't dodge a piss test because he was off his face.
Yeah, that's nice.
It's solid.
There's a football references that I recognise the names, but presumably he was a bit of a player, wasn't he?
Well, he didn't...
Like literally on and off
Well,
the pitch.
he was from the golden generation that no one really liked.
The cokehead generation.
Well, I don't know if we can say that, but he definitely missed a urine test, but it definitely wasn't because he was
Do you mean he
drugs.
just missed the pot?
He missed it,
It's just fucking going everywhere.
It was, England players are like at shootouts. As the hate wave continues, online...
The what? The hate wave?
The hate wave. I've been going on a while. As the heat wave continues, online shoppers are being scammed by cut-price aircon units. The fans, as cheap as £40, claim to cool rooms within seconds, which is like a Zempic claiming your friends will believe that you lost the weight through willpower alone.
Yeah, it's quite nice.
It's a point, isn't it?
That's all right.
Yeah,
also, let's discuss those YouTube adverts, because you never know. I think we're getting adverts on this now, so I apologise if you're being interrupted. But if it's anything like me, it's all week. It's been these little boxes that can cool your room in
17
seconds.
17 degrees in 17 seconds.
I nearly went for it the other day.
Desperate people do desperate things. But apparently, like the adverts, this shows how what desperation does. Is the adverts are really badly AI'd, like people who've got three hands.
But surely this must come under some fucking... I know that Ofcom has really got teeth, but surely advertising on any platform when it's false advertising is false advertising no matter what platform. So if you go, this was made by a NASA scientist, it has to have been made by a NASA scientist, right? Then surely you can sue their ass.
How sweet. Tom thinks the internet's regulated.
Is it not? Advertising, but YouTube. Come on, like if they're putting a shit advert on right now, it's us that it makes us look fucking bad.
It makes us money.
I just thought that.
Okay, last week we called the politics. What do we call it? We called it everything else is politics.
Yeah, something like that.
Well, we want to be a moving target so we don't get sued. So what should we call it this week?
For some reason, Westminster wanging.
Yes.
Because we're wanging on.
Yes.
Wanging on about Westminster wanging. And now, for our new regular section, Westminster wanging.
Okay, both of these subjects, as ever, it's been one show, but they'll be led off with the burning political question. Is it time for Count Binface to unmask? Come back to that.
Yeah, all right.
Okay, see? Yeah, that's what I do. I'm like John Ronson there.
Yeah.
I'll come back to that. But we should talk about Farage's hasty decision. Can I start with my sort of theory of what's going on with reform?
Please.
I think they're not coping in the heat. I think I think of all the parties, their brains are a bit fried, because when Farage made this decision, right, the obvious counter move by a lot of the parties was to just not play ball. But apparently he literally, I'm going to say flounced, because there was pretty flouncy. And nobody in his team suggested that this was a possibility. Further evidence that they're not coping in the heat is Richard Tice was on the radio this morning, and he was talking about this George Cotterill guy, right? And he said, look, he's a good lad from a solid aristocratic family that I've known for 50 years. You go, what is happening? And then you've seen Nadeem Zahawi going full sort of like red-blooded MAGA. Oh, Jenrick Lamar. I always go for different nicknames with Robert Jenrick. Robert Generic.
Jenrick Lamar was quite good. I like that.
Jenrick Lamar was out there, and he was sort of banging the desk. And I just think that a lot of this is to do with heat, because they like looking conventional. They're probably wearing too much suit.
Yeah.
They need to get one of those cheap aircon units.
Yeah.
What do you think is going on with Farage?
I think he sort of fucked it. He admitted yesterday that it did not occur to him that people were not going to turn up, which is pretty ridiculous. He's generally, I fucking hate the man, and I think he's a snake oil salesman, and I think he has nothing of value to give this country that he pretends to love, but that he doesn't. But he is a smart fucking political operator, right? And he's managed to achieve a lot, good or bad, in this country from quite a way back. He's like been throwing grenades for about 20 years, hasn't he?
He's been pissing into the tent for a long time.
Yeah, he has. Yeah. Now, I think that's a really good point. Is that now they are successful. Now he has made himself heir apparent to number 10. The idea that he might get some scrutiny is absolutely appalling to him. But it's like all of them have looked so fucking ridiculous. And unless you're a big, I see a lot of people online that really support him and are defending him, but I think generally most people are looking at him going, they're all looking ridiculous by the way that they're defending him. And also this what's happened in the last day or so is that they've started to try and make Binface out to be the establishment that they're trying to fight. I mean, they're literally sort of going, and who is he, and who's he funded by? And that to me is when you're trying to suggest that Count Binface is the enemy, they've sort of lost the argument, I think. Well,
I mean, the whole nature of the Binface gag, I guess we'll come to. I just think the principle of what Farage was saying, right, which was that these are they'll decide, but the investigation hasn't happened. The whole idea of the establishment finding you guilty of something and then you saying to the public or your constituency, does it bother you? That's a really powerful thing to do electorally, but only once the investigation's happened. It's sort of like saying, like a bloke, his wife, he's been on a stag do and his wife thinks he's been up to no good. And he's gone, look, babe, look at the WhatsApp group. Every lad here says that I did not get motorboated at that club. All right? And even then, that group of people aren't able to speak on behalf of the country. There's just a lot of flawed thinking going on.
I mean, the arrogance of him saying, I've decided, was his exact words, I've decided that the people of Clacton will judge my actions. You don't get to fucking decide that. I think it was Richard Tice, it might have been Jenrick, who just referred to the Parliamentary Standards Commissioner as a kangaroo court. So they've started just hurling that out. We mustn't trust any of it. The only people you should trust is the people of Clacton.
So the Binface thing, right? Who funds Binface? I would say that if you hate Nigel Farage, this is one of the best summers of your life. You know what's unfolding. Which definitely shines a light on whether or not this is a good decision. I would say, just on a pure comedic level, is it funny? Right now, if you hate Nigel Farage, of course you're going to say it's funny. But seeing something bad happening to someone you hate isn't definitely funny. It's just something like you want to see happen, so you will then support it. I would argue that if you found Boaty McBoatface funny, you're definitely going to think this is one of the best gags of all time. I think there are things that are funny about Count Binface.
Yeah.
Nationalise Adele, that's funny.
That is funny.
Yeah, 99 flakes should cost 99p. That's funny. But one thing we both know about jokes is that they wear thin. And I think if his whole point is I'm not going to get unmasked, this is a 6-week campaign, he's going to need new jokes, isn't he?
Yeah, but actually I think satirically it will be quite interesting because he's letting the media sort of make the joke themselves because they're starting to take him seriously. I mean, we're in silly season anyway, so the media's going amazing because this really is silly. I mean, I think this guy weirdly, I feel like something's happening to him that kind of happened to me. I mean, he's been around a while, but this is like a massive opportunity for him to, whatever it is he's does. I don't know. I'm fucking hats off to him. What I love is
was that deliberate?
Not really. But
it just falls out of you, doesn't it?
It does. Yeah. What I do love is that the fact that Farage has set himself up as the anti-establishment candidate.
Yeah.
Weirdly, if you really are genuinely anti the establishment, a vote for Binface is pretty much an anti-establishment vote, right? It's this comedian who completely takes the piss, does not give it any weight or seriousness whatsoever, and in doing so exposes how ridiculous the establishment or those political kind of norms are. He is an anti-establishment vote, and if I was in Clacton, I would sort of not just vote for it for a joke. Like I say, it's like that bit in Brewster's Millions where he runs a campaign. It's like, I vote for none of the above. It's an interesting part. It's like the fact that we can spoil our paper. It's an interesting exercise in democracy, spoiling your paper. Turn up, but then don't vote. I don't know. I think it's slightly more interesting than the comedic conceit itself.
Yeah,
does that make sense?
It does. But I do think it's deeper than that. I think 1 week of this, hilarious. 6 weeks of this, he won't have as much to say. So he might need another joke policy. Maybe that. Maybe Weatherspoon should have to sell actual spoons. This is what he's going to need. Yeah, he's going to need new stuff to say.
I've looked at his manifesto for Macclesfield, and he did put out something that it will be evolving. But there are a couple of weird points about, like you say, the 99 flake. He wants to make the 99 flake 99p.
Yeah.
Actually, if you look at that policy, if that were to be implemented, what he's doing is bringing down inflation. So it's actually a serious thing, right?
Putting ice cream vans out of business.
There's another one, right?
I don't want to do the lefty thing here, but this is how the left.
Oh yeah, this would be negative. This would be negative.
People going out
it
of
would
business.
Not be good. It would not be good.
But
I tell you what, though, making water company executives swim in our seas and rivers so that they can try their own product.
Open mouth.
Now that, because that's a funny way of going. We need to do something about our fucking water industry. That's and therefore, actually, some of these policies do just slightly make you go. Actually, I would make the Thames water boss. Yeah.
He should add open mouthed into that.
What I find really interesting is obviously that this all started from a Times investigation. So you've got like the Murdoch press turning on reform. I don't think they've ever been particularly big on reform. But what I've really noticed today is the Telegraph, right? That is fucking, Reform City, really, as a paper. Could Britain be hurtling towards its first Prime Minister? Count Binface is the best of British. Our country will never trust establishment politicians who can't laugh at themselves. And that's from a Telegraph article this morning. You go, fucking hell, if the Telegraph is going, Nige, mate, this is you're looking ridiculous. I think we may have, whilst we're joking about how sort of amusing it is, and both on both sides of the centre, left and right, we're both looking at him going, he looks fucking ridiculous.
He does.
But I think it might actually shift politics in this country, oddly, quite fundamentally over the next 2 or 3 months.
Yeah, maybe it's the end point of a cycle of our politics. There's one more question I've got to ask you, though, is that a lot of people on the left are finding this funny because this is somebody on the left mocking somebody on the hard right or far right, however you see Farage. What if it was somebody on the right, a comedian on the right? They don't exist. I know people are going,
comedians on the right.
Comedy.
Yeah.
What if there was somebody like that was doing a character because there was a by-election and there was a Green Party candidate standing there, and they were at the harder end of the Green Party, like they want like reparations for swans or whatever, and this person was standing against them. That's the litmus test, I think, for are you an objective person? Would you think it was funny then?
It's a reasonable point. I don't think lefties are particularly good at sort of laughing at themselves.
He said it.
We're not that great at it. I tell you what, though, as a lefty, I was obviously no fan of Theresa May at all, right? I thought her policies, you look back now and you go, actually, she seemed quite reasonable. Yeah. But from what we've had subsequently. But that awful conference speech where the guy handed her a CV. Remember that?
Simon Brodkin, yeah.
I felt sorry for her. And you go, I don't see the satirical point you're making. I don't think I did when he threw all the money up in front of in FIFA or whatever. But you made me feel sorry for Theresa May. Damn you! It's like that Ali G type of humour. It makes me actually cringe. So it's like if Binface makes me feel sorry for Farage, that will not be a good thing.
Finally, on Ali G, is that when a character is on the peripheries, right? So Binface was effectively a sketch character that was occasionally appearing in this. This is him getting his own film. As we know, sketch characters, when they get the film, it doesn't always work. Ali G, that movie, being a possible example.
Dude, if Binface gets a movie out of this and it's shit, fucking good on him.
Fair play.
No one's approached me for a fucking movie.
That's capitalism, baby. Okay, a lot of Binface there. Let's talk about less important things like war.
War!
Is Carg Island the coolest name for a war zone? Now, obviously, we will get into the serious stuff, but we got to ask...
like people dying and shit?
Yeah, we'll get to that. But Carg Island, oh my God, if there was a music festival and they said it was on Carg Island, I wouldn't even check the lineup. I'm going to Carg Island. Yeah,
but also if you had to meet a sinister potential benefactor on his mansion on Carg Island, you'd be like, fuck off.
That would be Evan Manning that would do that.
But to be fair, if it is a Bond villain sort of sounding Carg Island, that's why Trump wants it. Because of the name, and then it will be Trump Island within, a few weeks.
He'd be mad to lose that name. Yeah. I mean, we should probably talk about the war resuming.
The death and stuff.
But we're being quite phlegmatic about this.
Phlegmatic?
I know. Used to be an English teacher, which always terrifies middle-class people. But
yet... Unbelievable.
It's been a while since I've worn tweed. The market, one thing I noticed, right, is I like, we'll maybe talk about this later, but I kind of like money. I like looking at where the oil price is, where the share indexes are, right? I'm nearly 50.
I'm nearly 50. I like money, but the fucking oil index, what's wrong with you?
Do people not do that?
Do you read the Financial Times?
You do that. No, but I just, one, I drive a lot of places, so there's a direct impact.
Coppers up.
I've got my...
I notice.
I've got my we've all got a Prudential FTSE Index.
You've got a portfolio, Geoff. Have you got a fucking portfolio?
Look, it doesn't help the brand, this. But I check in on the markets, right?
Go on.
You've got to have a pension.
I've got a pension.
Well, there we go.
All right.
So you just don't check it, but we're in the same position, right? But but I noticed that they haven't flinched. Right, really. No, the market FTSEs went down a little bit yesterday. The price of crude oil ticked up a little bit. I was just wondering, have the markets got bored of Trump being a messy bitch as well? Where, like us, we've just sort of gone, well, we've had quite a few of these kind of I wouldn't call it a mini conflict, but things that sort of rise and fall and eventually get sorted. Have we just have we put on a filter like you do on the internet and said, filter out all words containing war?
There's a little bit of that. Also, how long has this fucking, this will be a really quick war been going on? But it's been like February. Fuck. Yeah. Okay, so I think they've had 3, 4, 5 months of this going up and down and Trump's weirdness. I think they've sort of worked out how to do it. And maybe we're stockpiling a bit better or something. And also, we've learned that you go, well, they've gone up and that's a problem. In about a week's time, something will change. So it's just you make hay while you can until...
Do you think they've just found like a little waterway out of the Strait of Hormuz and gone...
Or just little submarines or something.
But just like a really even thinner bit. And everyone's keeping it really quiet and the Iranians are going, some of those boats that were there before aren't there. And they definitely haven't gone past me, boss.
Did you see that it sort of went viral, but it was some guy on Twitter and it was like, here's the Strait of Hormuz. And then just goes, just do this. And it was a picture of a lorry driving through all of these sort of war-torn places. And it would have taken 6 weeks. And it was like, no, mate, that's not really the way it works.
He's just on Google Maps, isn't he?
That's right. It's just as the crow flies.
Yeah, and drop down the M11. The initial analysis was quite dystopian. I heard people saying, like, this is going to disrupt everything. And the way to get British people worried is always to say, it's going to disrupt your holidays. We freak the fuck out. Anything, what my holidays? It's like, okay, people might be dying. My holidays, we got very worried. They'd be running out of jet fuel.
Also, I think, this cost of living crisis, as it's called, has been going on for a long fucking time, right? And actually, if you were to walk in a supermarket like 2.5 years ago and look at the prices, you'd go, fucking what? Eggs were that 2 years ago? So obviously, actually, the upshot of us quite privileged Westerners is our prices will go up in about 6 months because it's all to do with farming and all that shit and the harvest and all of that sort of nonsense. And we're so sort of used to that that actually that milk price going up and this going up and that going up. We're so sort of used to it that I don't think we will associate it with Trump's fucking war.
It's like buying a sofa, the war now, pay later. I mean, I would say this, right? I think people on the left, and not just people on the left, Trump, I think one thing that the people on the online right forget is just how unpopular Trump is in Britain. He's popular with the online right, in general on the right. I think he's even got a plurality of people among reform voters that don't like him, right? So I do think we've gone down the road of anti-Trumpism. I still would say that put it this way, it's a difficult question. Who would you rather run Britain, Trump or the Iranian Islamic Guard? It's tricky, isn't it?
It is a tricky, but also it's a really whataboutist question, if I may say so.
Well, I just thought it'd be a tricky one, you know, like I just wanted you to say I would rather Trump run Britain, and then we clip that up, but you saw it for what it was.
What about Trump as president, but the Ayatollah as vice president?
What, to balance him out?
Yeah.
Thank you for watching this, but you've got to subscribe. It's really important you subscribe, like it, and share it with a friend. And you also need to go and see this man on tour.
Oh, yeah, go see me on tour at jonathanpie.com. Sorry, is this the bit at the end? Sorry, I didn't know what we were doing.
It's the bit in the middle. We're putting it in the middle.
This is the middly bit?
Yes.
Sorry.
So go and see him on tour. Brilliant a plug-in. And go and see Geoff at the Edinburgh Fringe.
Go see Geoff Norcott at the Edinburgh Fringe
from the 24th of August for a week.
JonathanPie.com, geoffnorcott.co.uk or something. All
right, we're going to do the showbiz bit now. The showbiz bit.
The showbiz bit?
Yeah.
That's showbiz.
That's showbiz. That is, there probably is a podcast called that.
The politics is over, now for some showbiz.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah, let's get your sequence ready, ladies.
We discussed last week that it's been sort of a year of shit flops of films. Shit floppy films. But there is a big one coming out.
Yeah, The Odyssey by Christopher Nolan. It comes out, I think, the middle of about 16th of July in the UK.
I believe so.
And the trailer dropped. I know you've got stuff you want to get off your chest about Christopher Nolan. I think the reaction to the trailer is... There was a big negative reaction to the trailer, as there is often now. And a lot of people took issue with the colour-blind casting of Lupita Nyong'o, right?
Yep.
And, you know, I suppose there are some arguments about whether or not is it historically accurate and all of that stuff. But that's become incredibly tedious in its own right. Really, I want to watch the film and decide whether she was good as Helen of Troy. That would be mainly what I'll look at. One thing I do have an issue with is she did quite a few interviews on the junkets where she was sort of shitting on the original. Now, this has been a recent trend in Hollywood. Rachel Zegler.
What, the original book?
Yeah. So Rachel Zegler did this when she was in Snow White. She said it was just creepy and odd.
Well, don't do the fucking film then.
So... what she walked into was a trap from an interviewer, which he sort of said, if you spoke to Homer now, what would you say to him? And she said, why don't women get much screen time in your movies? She actually said movies. I think she did. I just think, like, it's really hard to make a film work at the moment, right? So the one thing you don't want to do is tread on any easy landmines, right? Yeah. Just when you hear the click, lift your foot up, go somewhere else. So that's my only point. I'm open-minded. I want to enjoy it. I like Christopher Nolan films. But I do think that the studios should have a don't shit on the original clause. Maybe.
Don't shit on the original source material.
Yeah, just a clause going.
No, I completely disagree. Adaptations. That's the movie art form, isn't it? It's all about adaptation, I think.
But but to kind of go, it's just such a weird thing to say about that particular text, such a seminal text in literature. And apparently a lot of
I've never read it. Have you ever read it?
Well, what's interesting is a lot of Greek classicists, in the same way the guys were good at graphs came out during COVID, a lot of Greek classicists are actually going, well, you know, of all the Greek texts, the Odyssey was actually, had the most female representation of all. It's very strong female characters in it. So it doesn't even seem...
I thought we were out the other end of this sort of, identity, judging everything by identity politics.
I think it's presentism, isn't it? That's the problem. Yeah. Is she sort of saying, if you compared it to a film that's made right now, does it have an equal number of female voices? Probably not, because the world was deeply patriarchal then, so it kind of reflects the world as it was. So,
the thing with this colour blasting thing, I remember colour-blind casting. I think there's a debate to be had, about that, which we might have or might not. I remember my mum saying that she'd seen a TV adaptation of something about Anne Boleyn, and Anne Boleyn was played by a black girl, and I remember her saying, God, it was just a bit weird. And I'm not outing my mum as a bigot, but she said, I found it quite difficult. And we had this quite adult conversation about it, and I was like, how long did it bother you for? She was like, it was about the first 10 minutes. Great. And then she said, and she was bloody brilliant in it. Great. And then she said, and then at the end I realised why they'd cast her, because Anne Boleyn was an outsider, and it was like this constant reminder that Anne Boleyn was an outsider. And you go, so that was really a valuable version of colourblind casting.
I've heard that experience with family members as well. What I think it does do is it puts quite a lot of pressure on the actor to be brilliant. Unfortunately, it does mean that.
But I think any casting of any actor, if I get cast in anything, I'm under pressure to do it.
Yeah, but what I mean is like the scrutiny of the online mob means that
it's whether it's tokenistic or whether it's to do with a meritocracy, and whether you,
and we'll know that,
and also films and art is about interpretation, and if you want to interpret something that way, I don't have a problem with it, really.
I suppose one thing that people have said, and maybe it is a bit of a whataboutery, but kind of going, it feels like colourblind casting only goes one way. Like if you take that principle and you was casting, you were doing a Martin Luther King biopic, and there was a pretty white-looking guy, and everyone in the room going, he was the best. I mean, I understand there are different power dynamics.
Do you know what? But I think things move on and society changes. I am going to admit something to you. When I was probably about 18, I was in a local amateur production of West Side Story, and of course, all the Puerto Ricans, we all had to wear brown fucking paint, right? It was no photographic.
Thank God for you.
And nobody batted an eyelid. It just wasn't a conversation. And then something, it feels like, oh, bloody woke nonsense coming in. I watched Lawrence of Arabia the other day for the first time. I can't believe it's the first time I watched it. It is fucking incredible. It is absolutely incredible. And everyone in it is brilliant. Alec Guinness is in it. Blacked up to the max. And it is the only bit of the film where I went, oh, you've completely taken me out of this because of my modern sensibilities. But what I would never do is judge that. I'm judging that work knowing that it's 60, 70 years old, right? So I didn't like go, oh, well, I'm gonna, if I review Lawrence of Arabia, I'm gonna knock a star off for the brown face bit. I did find it uncomfortable, which means we sort of moved on. Does that make me woke as fuck? I don't know.
No, you had an issue with blacked up Ben Kenobi. Who wouldn't?
Exactly. Let's talk a bit about the Odyssey.
I think this is a bigger risk for you than admitting that you've browned up before. I know what you're about to say. I think this is a bigger risk.
No. You don't know what I'm about to say.
I think your fans won't like this.
I saw the trailer today because I don't normally like watching trailers of films that I know I'm probably going to go and see. I'm going to go and see this because it's sort of the film of the whatever. The discussion that we were having about colourblind casting aside, the trailer looks stunning. It looks absolutely stunning. It looks beautiful. And when I say looks beautiful, it looks like the film's going to be beautiful. No, it visually is stunning. There's a shot right at the start of this lone figure walking across a beach, and it reminded me weirdly again of Lawrence of Arabia. There's a very famous scene where Omar Sharif comes out of the desert, and it just reminded me of that. So it looks great. Now, Christopher Nolan uses a cinematographer, and cinematographer is the guy who sets up the shots, really. So he's just as much a part of the artistic vision. And the cinematographer used, forgive me if I get this wrong, Hoyt van Hoytema. Dutch guy, but he's a fucking incredible cinematographer, has worked on things like, did you ever watch Her?
I mean, I don't want to make a frivolous comment, but once your name's Hoytma, surely you're not calling your kid Hoyt van. Sorry, anyway, so no, I haven't watched that film. They do
things different in Dutch.
They do.
All right, Ad Astra, which I had some problems with, but it looked fucking fantastic. Interstellar, Oppenheimer, he won the Oscar for, which is the last one. Dunkirk, he got blah, 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 blah. So it looks fucking great because Christopher Nolan has a wonderful cinematographer, and Christopher Nolan, I believe, is a great movie technician. But I've never watched a film of Christopher Nolan's and walked out the cinema and gone, fucking hell, that was amazing. Not a single one. That's not to say I haven't enjoyed certain ones. I thought the Batman trilogy was one of the most overrated trilogies ever. I rewatched Batman Begins the other day because I only watched it once just to double check that I'm right. It's a fucking mess.
Double check that I'm right.
Well, yeah, it's a fucking mess of a film, that first Batman film. And the third one, I remember being in the cinema with the third Batman film, and it was like, everyone was loving it, and it was really tense. And there's this bit where all of the police force are trapped underground. I don't know if you remember it. And I remember I was in the front row, and I remember literally looking behind me going, Are you all watching the same film as me? Because this is just fucking preposterous. I found, I think it's weird because I love Stanley Kubrick movies, right? And one of the things that people accuse Kubrick of is having it being cold and heartless, and it's a critique that stands some scrutiny, really. But I find Christopher Nolan's film leaves me absolutely cold. I don't think he gets the best performances out of his actors. I think he's a bit up himself. And I just don't get it.
Okay, so the comment section is open.
I know, I'm about to get fucking... But should I tell you what, and I find this really, really important, and this is why this sort of discussion is so much more of an enriching discussion as a debate about politics, right?
Yeah.
Because a debate about politics is about opinion and not really anything else. Whereas a debate about films, it's a debate about opinion, but it's also a question of taste. Right. And therefore I can accept, we can fundamentally disagree about a film of Christopher Nolan's, and it might be a difference of opinion, but it's actually at the end you can walk away and go, we just have different tastes. And just Christopher Nolan, he just leaves me cold. I think it's like a poor man's intellectual film.
So
I'm going to get mullered for that. I would say it's a good thing that people are going to the cinema, but they're only going to watch...
You said what you said, bro. Batman trilogy. I'm going to watch it. The Batman trilogy. I'll grant you that on the third one. I think the first two is so easy to forget how much they informed cinema that came afterwards. And the stylistic changes that he enforced. Yeah, some of them were a bit sterile. I really wanted to fully disagree with you on this, but then I thought about some of his films, right? And I loved all of them at the cinema, right? I loved Interstellar. Did I love it? I don't know. I was very excited to see it.
It was enjoyable.
I really liked...
what's the dreamy one? Where
Inception.
Now, Inception, I think that's... Actually, I did enjoy Dunkirk. That one, I really enjoyed it, and it felt like a normal blockbuster. What I couldn't understand is everyone I spoke to going, it's really complicated. It'll fuck with it messes with your mind. And I remember watching it going, well, he's in a dream. I was in a dream of a dream now.
Yeah. Some of it was
really was not that complicated.
Here's the thing. I have never, some of his recent big films, including Dunkirk, actually, which I've loved, I've never sought to rewatch them. Right?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
And that is, maybe that just says he is a master of cinema, like he's an auteur, but I've never thought about rewatching them. And I was thinking sometimes in the case of Inception, it's because it's got this little twist in it. And some of those films that have this inconsistency in them, once you work it out, there's no point in rewatching it.
It's like rewatching The Sixth Sense for the 20th time.
Yeah, he's dead.
Yeah, he's fucking dead.
Or that person has got a cock, right?
Yeah.
Like The Crying Game, obviously.
Sorry, I wondered what sort of films you were talking about then.
Even the usual...
He's got a cock.
Yeah. That's one of Christopher Nolan's lessons. Imagine that on the IMAX. Jesus Christ, 20 foot of cock.
Yeah.
That's also a title. It all got a bit heated there. People have to hype it up a bit, don't they? For
it all got
Well, if you want to see what that argument was about.
Oh, Tom didn't like that film.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit like politics. We sort of started off disagreeing, but ended up in not that dissimilar positions. But I'm sure people have things to say about that. They might have a bit to say about this, because, that went well. One of the things we will do is talk about disasters in our personal lives. You may not think this is a disaster, but the other day, you just casually threw into a discussion that you'd got drunk and you'd gone online and bought curtains, which I don't want to be like gender stereotypical. Is one of
you're about to be, aren't you?
Well, it's not.
How can a bloke?
It's just one of the most, but not even. It's nothing to do. It's one of the most surprising things a man has ever said to me. I got drunk. And I went online and bought a shitload of curtains.
No,
the way you said it was like you were flexing as well.
Curtains, wallpaper, and a sofa. I know. Basically, I'm having some work done, so I needed to buy a sofa and I needed to buy some wallpaper. But it took 2 vodka martinis for me to go right. I'm going to make some choices here. So basically, I bought wallpaper on vodka, and it is rather bright and colourful. It's got to be honest.
I'm going to say something.
It's a bit camp.
Look, I think it's beyond. I think even the campest person I've ever known would never sit with a vodka martini just flicking through patterns for carpets.
I wasn't flicking, I was scrolling.
Yeah, so, but it helps the comedic image.
If it helps with... I also bought this is how drunk I was. I bought a cinema screen and a projector.
So he's doing all right for himself.
No. Do you know what?
Yeah.
It was enjoyable because without sort of trying to counter what you just said there, I spent most of my life fucking poor, and I'm really lucky that, which I never thought would happen, but I managed to not buy somewhere but get a mortgage this year, which I never thought would happen. And there's just a little outhouse down the bottom of my garden that was rotting, and I thought, if I don't do it now, I'll never do it. Look. So basically I'm having my outhouse done out, and I just thought, do you know what, I'm going to make it look, I'm going to do this up because it's not in my house. I'm going to go a little bit over the top. So it's somewhere between a man cave and sort of a high-end brothel.
Once you said cinema screen, fair enough. And also, you mentioned money. I'm delighted for you. I think one of the weirdest things for me in this country is that we can't just enjoy money openly. I really like...
Yeah, I feel apologetic for saying, I've managed to buy a flat
This is the great thing about being the token choice. I love money. The biggest lie about British people. This is what I like. One of the things I like about Americans is they're able to admit that money's fantastic. Yeah. In this country, you get this a lot in comedy, you get left-wing comics shuffling on stage, sharing at their scraggy trainers, right? Just looking down, acting like they accidentally became multi-millionaires. Fuck off. All right? You went for it and you love it, and you get a semi every time you look at your bank balance.
I tell you what's great about it. What's great about having some money, not that I'm loaded, but compared to where I was, I feel a bit loaded.
So you're doing it now?
I know. The not going to a cash point and having to beg it to give me £10, which was 20 years of my life.
Yeah.
Every time I go to a cash point, every time I buy a round of drinks, I'm reminded that I'm no longer in that state, and it is fucking one. And I never want to go back. I never want to go back to having to, shoplift from Marks and Spencer's.
So the great thing from my point of view is you said you're doing all right and you like buying the odd round. Producer Will is in the room. It's Friday in London, so I think we all know what's going to happen next.
Let's get on it. Cocaine and hookers.
And wallpaper. and so if you want to join us, do subscribe. We'll be doing the Q&As as well. We'll be putting those out during the week. And just subscribe, like, hype, tell your friends. We're enjoying doing this. We want to do more, but it'll depend on you guys watching it.
Yes, please. We'll see you in the middle of the week for our Q&A session, but until then, have a good week.
Well, that won't. I genuinely didn't do that to be a prick.
Well, that went well.
Well, I took a deep breath there to indicate that we were going to say it together.
Okay. Well, that went well.